here today to talk about decentralization in DeFi, essentially, and the various solutions we have, and especially what I'm doing now at my level with some colleagues at the DeFi Collective. So you might all have seen recently, even not so recently, there is a massive alignment problem in DeFi, in the sense that very few projects are actually properly decentralized, immutable, and unstoppable, what would qualify as real DeFi. Most of what we have is actually in a range between it takes a few minutes to someone experience to actually seriously attack the protocol, to there are serious centralization vectors, and there could be problem in the future because of that. So for those who follow, just a few days ago, yesterday actually, Radiant protocol got hacked out of $50 million because of essentially unmitigated dependency on a multisig. So that's the kind of hack that we shouldn't even see happening, because protocols shouldn't even need to rely on multisig in the first place. But anyway, that's DeFi. You have a bunch of actors that are motivated by profit mainly. You have a complex space, and what it leads to very often is essentially obfuscation. So projects misrepresenting their actual decentralization level to mislead investors into confidence and using their protocol. So a year ago, we launched a collective, and that was essentially our core mission we wanted to address. Essentially, the goal of the collective, to put it simply, is how do we go from a DeFi where maybe 10 protocols can be properly called DeFi to a DeFi where we have hundreds or thousands of such protocols. And so we're entertaining essentially any endeavor that could result into more protocol being built maximally decentralized. So at a high level, how it works, it's an association, non-profit association established in Switzerland. DeFi native, so we use DeFi, we do everything on-chain, completely transparent. We publish monthly report, trimestral report, yearly report. All our wallets are public, everybody can audit what we do. Completely self-sufficient, we have our own assets. Our assets are sufficient to cover all our expenses and generate a large premium that can be then compounded to support further protocol. And the other thing is it's completely self-appointed, so nobody hires the collective. The collective simply hires itself on the protocol that are the most resilient, the most interesting, the most critical for the future of the space. So at a high level, this is essentially how it goes. We have the treasury activity, supporting projects with liquidity strategy, using the protocol directly. We also advise them in tokenomics, liquidity, cross-chain strategy. We have another dimension that is the education, essentially just like what I'm doing today, explaining to you the goals and the challenges regarding decentralization in DeFi. And probably what you will be most interested into, our upcoming release in the next weeks, which is DeFiScan. And the high level for it is essentially picture L2-bit, but for the decentralization stages of protocols. I'll get into DeFiScan in just a minute. Collective just turned 1 year old, so I wanted to share some figure to give you a sense of it. So far, there's been over 10 projects we supported directly, so advising, treasury, donations, or whatsoever. Over the first year of activity, we had a net earning of about $450K and 78% of surplus. That means essentially only 22% of what we produce in revenue is necessary for the structure to cover all its expenses. The rest is compounded to further support DeFi. The way it's done is essentially harnessing what we call liquidity driving tokens. So maybe you're familiar with the VCRV model. There are other models like this, but essentially you control tokens such as VAERO or VVelo. You can direct incentives to some liquidity pairs. So that's one way to support liquidity. And as you do so, you get exposure to the trading fees on those pairs. And that's one of the main revenue sources for the collective. So out of these earnings of 450K I presented you earlier, here is the revenues. So you get an idea of where it comes from. But essentially various position, liquidity providing on layer 1, liquidity providing on layer 2s, and on the right side, the purple and the gray is what is derived from the liquidity driving positions. In terms of expenses, just to give you a quick overview, big cost of expenses for us is posting bribes on decentralized exchange to attract votes to the pairs we're trying to grow liquidity for. And of course, contributors, we have 6 contributors, so that's a decent spending. And about 4% still of all our expenses are gas, 10K of gas burned last year. Luckily for us, there has been the income update and so on, layer 2 it's much lower. So I was telling you we're turning 1 year old, and we have quite a few things planned for this. There is an anniversary NFT you can mint if you want to support the collective. We're publishing our yearly financial report. Just today, you'll find it on the DeFiCollective.org website. And the most interesting part, I guess, the most anticipated is DeFiScan coming next week. And along with it will come what we call a review to earn campaign, where essentially we're putting, to start with, $10,000 of stablecoin of our own assets and incentivize protocol review submission by users. But let's have a quick look at DeFiScan. So I was telling you, it's essentially like an L2 bit for decentralization stage. So it will look like this. You'll have various protocols and their decentralization status, essentially. The way we do it is essentially it's 3 sub-products, let's say. First, there is a framework to assess and review decentralizations of protocol. Then there is a set of tools and resources that we built that are essentially, for instance, what we call the permission scanner. You can drop any contract in there, and it will analyze all the permissions, who can update what, and return it to you. And there is essentially the final product, the DeFiScan website, where you will see all the ranking and the details for each. So the framework is in 5 dimensions, similar, again, to L2Bit, but adjusted for protocol review. So we look at the chain, we look at the upgradability of the protocol, the autonomy, the exit window, and the accessibility. I will show to you in practice. I guess that will be clearer. But before we even look at a protocol, we have some prerequisites that a decent amount of protocols don't even meet, so they don't even qualify as at stage 0. They are NA. And those prerequisites are pretty basic. You must be on-chain. There must be no centralized custody in your protocol. You must have public documentation. Your code must be verified. And the code must be open source or at least source available. So if you don't have this, you can't even be reviewed because we can't use the tool to review you. So you get stage nothing, essentially. So that's the NA. And then you have stage 0, which is essentially reviewed but scoring low on most metrics. Stage 1 and stage 2. So starting at the stage 1, you can have a protocol that is more or less resilient, even if it still has some unmitigated dependency or centralization vector. A stage 2 is, on the other end, essentially a perfectly clean protocol, where the only way you could lose your money with such protocol is for the smart contract to have a failure. So in practice, this is how it looks like. So I'm taking here Liquidity, widely recognized as one of the cleanest protocols there is on mainnet and most beautifully engineered, and for a reason. So essentially, if we go through the 5 dimensions quickly so you understand. On the chain, Liquidity is on Ethereum mainnet. Mainnet is getting the best grade in our chain rating along with stage 2 rollups. So that's a green, high score. Upgradability, Liquidity is purely immutable code. So there is no worries about upgradability, high score. Exit window, well, you can change the protocol anyway, so who cares? There is no need for exit window, high score. Accessibility, Liquidity is widely recognized for his model where essentially they incentivize third party to host front-end, and you now have about 40 different ways to access a front-end for the Liquidity protocol. So top of the class here. And autonomy, we look at the dependency to other protocols, to other services or product, and especially we look at is there any one product that if it fails, it could cause damage on the whole protocol. In there, the critical point essentially for a protocol like Liquidity is the oracle, but they do have oracle redundancy and a logic to switch between the oracle. So they are autonomous in the sense that they can resist the failure of one of the oracle. Another protocol, maybe you know of Velodrome, Aerodrome, that would be similar rating, but just to show you that overall, even if it's score a low in the current framework, it's a pretty clean low, essentially. And I'm going to go in details into what that means. So chain level, they are on optimism. That's a stage 1 rollup per L2 bit. So that gets a medium rating in our perspective. When optimism goes to stage 2 rollup, this will be upgraded to green. Upgradability, there are some non-core functions, non-critical functions that can evolve, but the core of the protocol, which is a DEX, so providing liquidity, swapping, cannot change, so that's pretty clean there. Accessibility, pretty similar to Liquidity. They have a decent amount of front ends, about 6 or 7 at least, so it ensures that the protocol will remain accessible, even if there is some limitations problem to access one front end. Autonomy, they are essentially pretty much self-sufficient. They don't rely on any external product or service or anything to function, so they get a green here too. On the exit window is where the damage layer is currently, because essentially they have this governor contract that can instantly push changes to reward logic, for instance, or key reward goes to a protocol. So because there is no exit window, since the changes are instant, that gets a low grade in our scoring. Yeah, can I give you the detail on the exit window? But essentially every dimension is detailed like this in a very thorough framework. So right now I'm giving you like almost just a result and a quick explanation of what it is. But the merit of the endeavor is that you have this high-level overview with, oh, there is a lot of green here, that's good, or oh no, too much red for me. But then you can actually go in details, and every single item is sourced with link to the contracts or to anything relevant to understand why it got that grade. So yeah, just to give you maybe a bit more perspective on the collective, it's an association carried by 3 board members, myself included, Niels that is more on the technical side, and Florian that is more on the legal side, because we are an association in Switzerland, so we do have some concern there. And about 5 contributors currently that you have here. So we have a treasury team along with Lud, and then marketing and community management with Spacepeas and Sterngal, and now the protocol reviewer team, Cooking Crypto and Sagacious AI on the right side of the screen. So about 8 people involved total. I was telling you, we're celebrating our anniversary. We have a very cool NFT you can mint for 001 ETH on Optimism if you want to support our work. It's welcome to do so, but again, we're self-sufficient, so we don't need it to survive. It's just to scale up our activity and come back to you on stage next year, maybe presenting you the database with, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 protocols exhaustively reviewed, and a DeFiScan that would be of a much bigger grade. So yeah, thanks you all, and I don't know, how am I on time? Maybe I can take some questions. Oh, we have 3 minutes for questions if you have questions. All right, well, I'm around anyway, so if you want to come chat with me about the collective, if you have a protocol, you're confident in its decentralization, and you want to have it reviewed on DeFiScan, reach out. And yeah, I'll be around the conference. See you. Oh, well, go for it.
So as someone who used to work in the DeFi space, I want to thank you for working on this kind of quality benchmark, because in the past years, the only way as a user you can get to know whether there are any problems with some DeFi protocols is just basically look on crypto Twitter and see if anyone is complaining loudly about upgradability and so on and so forth. I wanted to ask you if you can expand on the process for coming up with the benchmark scores. Like, how is the team involved in setting a score for all the different metrics that you have?
So we have essentially for every item exhaustive checklist of every single Solana item and a special scoring for each, to determine if they go into low, medium, or high. Regarding how the teams are involved, right now they are essentially not involved in the first batch of protocol. We reviewed them ourselves. We are reaching out to the team to give them a chance to review, provide feedbacks, and whatsoever. And the vision for the long term is we want the team to self-review, essentially. And we will audit their own self-review and then validate it and put it on the website. So the vision is that you will want to be part of this website of this database, because if you're doing things properly, you want to advertise how decentralized you are. On the other end, and where it's getting tricky, and that's where we're putting disincentivization. I was talking about the $10,000 we're putting for protocol reviews, is you have an alignment problem where a major protocol that is not decentralized do not want DeFiScan to show how not decentralized they are with receipts and proof. So they will not come to self-review. We have to essentially force review them without their approval, without their support, and they're probably going to trash us on social networks on which we publish that, but we're still going to do it because the goal is to have the top 100 of DeFi in that database by the end of the next year, essentially.
Thanks. And second question, can you expand more about the upgradability? In your opinion, is it just a black and white score? If you're upgradable, you're vulnerable, or it's more than that?
No, it's not black and white. It's a matter of essentially what can you upgrade. So I don't know if you remember the Velodrome review. They got a medium on upgradability because there is upgradability, but it doesn't affect the core function of the protocol. So this gets you a medium. If there were, for instance, capacity to upgrade the swap or liquidity providing function, they would be getting a low because now you have upgradability affecting core function of the protocol. So it's really a matter of how deep the upgrades can be and are they touching core functions of the protocol, and the process around the upgrade, how decentralized it is, because of course, we don't want to penalize, I don't know, a protocol like Avi where pretty much everything can change on Avi. It's totally upgradable. You can add, remove collateral, put the collateral debt ceiling to $1 billion in one transaction if you want. So it's a balance of each. And if you're interested in the framework, it's getting live next week. So follow DeFi Collective on Twitter, deficollective.org. You'll find the framework here, and you can see where your favorite protocols will place.
Great, thanks.
Thanks.